The illustrious American icon, Mr. Rogers, is well known for saying the iconic words, "Won't you be my neighbor?" And I gotta say, today's question might be a little bit easier for everyone if that show aired in the Middle East. Because for years now, Israel and Lebanon have hotly contested their maritime border. Because the Mediterranean Sea to the west of the two nations is rich with natural gas. And naturally, because of this, both states have tried to lay claim to nearly all of it. And because of this, many analysts are hoping that the newly brokered US deal for the countries to split this maritime border will be well received. Because as explained in an article posted by the Brookings Institution on October 12th of 2022 goes on to state that this would be a significant move for peace between the countries, and that hopefully, by settling their maritime disputes, they'd be able to go forward and add peace to many other aspects of their interactions. And because it's for the sake of the promotion of peace in one of the most conflicting and inflammatory regions in the world, we ask ourselves today's question of, is peace finally here for Israel and Lebanon? And the answer is unfortunately no. Because while it is a good step forward, it is by no means a promise of peace for three key reasons. First, because of Lebanon's ambitions. Second, because of the fact that Israel may not sign. And third and finally, because it doesn't tackle the issue of the land border. But first, it's important that we take a look at Lebanon's ambitions and understand why this might keep the deal of the maritime border from being its most efficient self. Because Lebanon has put a lot of eggs in this basket. As explained in an article posted by The Economist on August 12th of 2022 goes on to state that Lebanon's economy has been downward spiraling for years now. Ever since the 2010s Ponzi scheme that stole money from the people of Lebanon and sent many into poverty while also spiraling the nation's debt, Lebanon has been looking for an easy fix for its economy. And they're hoping that a vast resource of natural gas to their western coast would exactly this quick fix. But unfortunately, this deal does not secure that, because an article posted by the New York Times on October 15th of 2022 goes on to state that the Quano gas field that Lebanon will be allocated in this deal is largely unsearched and is not guaranteed to have oil within. And because of this, if they're not able to access the natural gases they think they're being promised, Lebanon may find themselves unsatisfied with the deal and more than willing to go back into conflict with Israel to try to access the natural gas resources that Israel has been allocated. This is a significant concern, especially when we're discussing finalized peace between the two nations. And as long as there's a question of Lebanon's ambitions ruining the deal, we cannot consider peace to be reached. But second, we need to establish why this deal might not actually go through in the first place. Because while the agreement has been made, pen and ink still needs to be put to paper. And for Israel, this might not be a possibility, because the current interim caretaker government that agreed to this deal may be on its last legs. Because as explained in an article posted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies on September 16th of 2022 goes on to state that on November 1st, Benjamin Netanyahu, the former prime minister and longest sitting in history, is going to make yet another attempt to be prime minister and upset the current caretaker government. But why does this matter? Well, Netanyahu is incredibly against this deal. He refers to it not as a win for their economy, but rather as a surrender to Lebanon, and has said repeatedly that if he was elected in, he would do whatever he could to try to stop this deal from going through. And if the current caretaker government is not able to push the deal through parliament before this election and Netanyahu were to win, this would mean that the deal probably wouldn't happen in the first place. And this peace that analysts are so excited to reach would never find fruition. And this is why this is the second reason why we cannot consider peace to be served, because the deal is not final. In fact, there's a very real chance that it will never actually be finalized. But third, and possibly most importantly, we need to discuss the issue of the land border. Because when Israel left Lebanon in 1948, they did not just leave maritime borders up to discretion. They also did the land border. because the current land line that is drawn by the United Nations in 2000, called the Blue Line, is just one of 3 that is currently being discussed. In fact, there's no official legal land border between these 2 countries that they both agree on. And because of this, the maritime border isn't the only one necessary to be established for peace to be found. Because agreeing on a land border is a lot more difficult than agreeing on a maritime border simply for money. Because history, landmarks, and territorial integrity is at stake. And getting these 2 countries to agree to peace terms for something in this sphere is going to be significantly more difficult. In fact, the United Nations reports that at least every 1 to 2 to 3 years, peacekeepers have to intervene at the border to keep skirmishes from occurring between the troops of the 2 countries. And because of this, we have to assess the fact that just because the maritime border may be being finally decided upon, this doesn't mean peace has been reached. Because there's still a significant portion of their territorial integrity that needs to be decided for Israel and Lebanon. And until both the maritime and land borders between these 2 countries are finally established, peace cannot be reached. So when we look back at today's question of is peace finally here for Israel and Lebanon, the answer is an unfortunate no. Because while we'd love to see this as a step forward, it cannot be a promise of peace for 3 key reasons. First, because of Lebanon's ambitions. Second, because of the fact that Israel may not sign on. And third and finally, because of the issue of the land border. And while we'd love to take the words of Mr. Rogers into mind, it might take a little more than we think.